Hi, everybody. You are listening to Judging Meghan with your host, Meghan Judge. Guess what? I once again could not do the intro with my guest. I had to write it down. There is something wrong with me right now. This has been going on now for months that I cannot get an intro right. Last week, I pronounced my guest Marisa's name wrong for the entire podcast. And she didn't correct me. So Marisa, I am so sorry. She has since accepted my apology. We're still friends. But if you listen to my last week's episode, I was pronouncing her name wrong the entire time, calling her Marisa when it was Marisa. And I said to her at the end, I was like, why didn't you correct me? And she's like, oh, I didn't want to stop you. So I'm going to tell you right now, Heather, if I start calling you Heather, just correct me, okay? Because we, as women, which we're going to be talking about today, we need to be able to stand up for ourselves. I talk about this a lot, Heather, and I'm going to introduce you and hopefully not mess it up in like 1 second because I wrote it down. The apology thing that we do as women. Okay, yeah. You're allowed to talk, by the way. Yeah. I apologize for everything I do. Like, even if I don't do anything wrong, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, I could be at a grocery store and like not even run into somebody, but just pass them by and they're kind of in the way and I'll go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
See how we do that. We've been so socialized to be pleasers for so long. And it's really snowballed into this thing where we are constantly apologizing for ourselves. And it is something that we need to actively work to stop doing. Apologize for what matters.
Yes.
Not for being in our own space.
Yeah. Why do we apologize? I'm trying to teach my daughters. I have two.
Yeah.
Which I talked about before, because I'm like, when is school starting? How much longer? What is my countdown on the calendar? But just don't apologize. Hold yourself accountable for real things, but don't walk into a room and, cower. Hold your head up high. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what our issue is as women is if we, Heather, were running the country or the world, we would not have the issues that we have right now. We would take care of it, right?
I'm just saying, in a snap of a finger, and we'd look good doing it.
I mean, we would look good doing it. Everything would be decorated so much cuter. We would be lovely. I just wish this would happen.
We've all been put here for a reason, and we all deserve acceptance.
Judging Meghan with Meghan Judge.
I'm a trauma survivor from a really young age, and I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD in the past few years. I've been surrounded by death and abuse much of my life. I've been dragged through the mud and have been to the point of not wanting to go on anymore. Through my interviews with other survivors, I've learned that there is a way out. From recovering to surviving and thriving, we all have the strength to come out the other side.
You are listening to Judging Meghan.
Okay, I'm going to introduce Heather right now. Heather Bellino is the Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Advocacy Project, where they provide free civil legal services for people that have been harmed. Heather, I did it.
You
Can
did
you believe it?
I'm so proud of you.
I mean,
you had the 30-second elevator pitch down for Texas Advocacy Project.
I tried. Before we started recording, she tried to say that to me 5 times. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to write this down because I have a bio on her, but I never want to read a long bio on anybody, you know? So I try to do the 2 bullet points just for the listeners. I'm sure you're waiting on bated breath to figure out how I do an intro. Heather, welcome to the podcast. It's so nice to have you today.
Thank you. So glad to be here, Meghan. This is really exciting for me to be able to visit with you and share about the work that we do.
Okay, so your bio caught my eye because I think what you do is so important. And I always ask people where they're from. Tell me about yourself and how you got into this to begin with.
Okay. Well, I got to where we are right now is Austin, Texas. That's where our headquarters are, although we are a statewide organization. But I made my way here to Texas by growing up in Detroit. Then I lived in Portland, Maine for a while, Chicago, Illinois, and then boots on the ground here in Texas. And I love it. I love the work that I do. I think, honestly, that we got moved around and karma, or whoever's in charge, put me here because this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I'm supposed to be at Texas Advocacy Project, supporting the team that serves the people that need us the most.
Is there a reason why, there's usually a backstory why somebody does work like you do? Is there a specific reason why you got into this?
Oh, Meghan.
It's okay. This is a trauma and grief and mental health podcast. So you're in the right place to share away.
Oh, it is. But it is actually a completely different story than that. And I'll go through it real quick. Had moved to Texas. I had a son who was in kindergarten. I started saying I'm going to be really involved in the PTA and the school, and I just want to get completely immersed in the community. So I volunteered and I ran the carnival, and we ended up making a good chunk of money for the school. And, that's always important. We want to, support our students. And one of the other moms said, Heather, I am volunteering for Women's Advocacy Project, which is now Texas Advocacy Project, for their annual fundraiser. And I need help on the auction, which is what you did at that carnival that raised so much money. Can you come help me? And so I did. She promptly left for Italy, leaving me holding the bag. And that was in May. And by August, they asked me to come on as their volunteer coordinator part-time for a whopping big $13,000 a year. And I said yes. So I was no longer going to be the stay-at-home mom or the substitute teacher, and I started doing this. And I realized that carrying the voice of the survivors that we served was so incredibly empowering and joyful for me that I just got bought in hook, line, and sinker. And then just through a series of events and stepping in where the work was needed to be done, 20 years later, I'm the CEO of Texas Advocacy Project. And so it wasn't for a personal reason where I had impact on it or had been affected by any of these traumas, but really just understanding the courage and what it took to get out of these relationships was absolutely life altering for me. And then again, if you look back, there's not a person in life that has not been impacted by one of these series of traumas. So yes, I'm sure that if we peeled back many onions, many layers of that onion, so to speak, we could talk about those things, but that wasn't what brought me here. It is part of everybody's DNA though, unfortunately.
Do you feel like sometimes when people, I think we're born with like our gifts and our tools. I am not, although I just organized something recently, I'm shocked I didn't mess it up. I think we are born to do certain things, right? So you were probably born to do what you're doing. And then along the way, realizing that your calling is to help people, which I think is what life's all about, right?
Yeah. I really do think that like the chess pieces were moved around to get here so I could fulfill what I really do believe is my life's calling. And it has been, I've gained more than I've given. It's just been an incredible experience and journey. But yes.
Well, they say you're lucky, so lucky. Like anybody that has a job and it doesn't seem like a job, although I know it's hard work and you're dealing with really hard things, but if it's fulfilling, that's all you can really ask for, I think. Like a few years ago, I didn't even know, I talk about this sometimes, what a podcast was. And now, like this is what I do for a living and I love it. And I love talking to people like you. And I consider myself lucky. I'm sure you do too, to be able to do something like this. So
I can see it in your eyes that you love it and how important it is to you.
I really do love it. I really love what I do.
Awesome.
Okay. So tell me exactly what you do. I know my intro was brilliant because I read back that brief sentence, but I really want to know all about the Texas Advocacy Project. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so we've been around for over 40 years. And as I said earlier, we're a statewide nonprofit. And we provide free civil legal services, as you said and got right, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
after I read it 5 times, go ahead. Yeah.
Kudos. But those free civil legal services are given to people who have been victims of domestic or dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, child abuse, human trafficking. Think about any one of those atrocities where you might need a protective order or even the ability just to understand what your legal rights are in order to get long-term safety. So that's what we provide, and we do that for free. We also have some, let's call it adjuvant work that we do. We consider it like our law firm and our law center. And in the law center, we do some other work that has to do with maybe talking to policymakers about what really impacts victims and how they can consider laws and regulations that are going to best support the victims. Because as a legal service provider, we're only as good as the laws are. And luckily, most of the elected officials I've been able to talk to really care about victims and are really supportive of that. So really, though, at the core, it is that law firm. It drives everything that we do. And that law firm is providing those free civil legal remedies and the support that people need in order to navigate the justice system.
I wonder, I live in California. I don't know if we must have something similar, but I talk to a lot of women that have either gotten out of abusive marriages. I've done human trafficking podcasts where people don't know where to turn or how to get out. And the court system is set up where it's so bad. I'm sorry, but it's so bad. Like, yeah, I have a friend, like one of my best friends who's been on a couple of times, survived abuse, right? Still dealing, even though she's divorced, still dealing with the husband who's still coming after her. The divorce is final. So I think there's so many women out there that are stuck and afraid and don't know where to turn. So can you tell me a little bit about like what the steps are for people if they want help, and especially specifically in Texas? Because I'm assuming we're just talking about Texas. You don't serve.
Well, we're talking about Texas specific to the work that we do. And again, that's all we can speak to. However, there are other legal services organizations in most states. Okay. Now, if they deliver the services in the same manner, that I can't speak to, but I can tell you that accessing the National Domestic Violence Hotline, if it happens to be domestic violence, there are also human trafficking and sexual assault support systems, but they will direct you in your particular area to the best resource. So how this works with Texas Advocacy Project, though, is that we have partnerships with every rape crisis center, domestic violence center, human trafficking shelter in the state of Texas. And that's our traditional referral stream. But truly, victims are going to access so many other places before they necessarily work with a shelter. And when you said you have this friend, right? We're all a first area of response, first responders for our friends, our families, the people we go to church with, go to school with, see in the grocery store. So we have to be able to be open and non-judgmental. And we have to understand that, unfortunately, the way this abuse and the tactics work, it creates isolation, lowered self-esteem, feelings of shame. So we have to be careful and aware of the fact that how we respond when somebody is either making an outcry or showing us that there's something to be worried about, that we do it in a non-judgmental, open way where we can say, we see you, we're scared for you, and when we're ready, you're ready because it's your choice. Mm-hmm. Their power's already been stripped, so we don't want to put our judgment on them. When you're ready, we'll find you a resource that can help you. And if it's in Texas, it's Texas Advocacy Project.
Can you tell me like some of the cases that you've dealt with? I mean, I know there's privacy issues, but I would love to know some success stories, like of somebody that came to you. I would love to know that.
Meghan, so that's hard, and I will share some, but the stories aren't pretty all the time. But I will say that by the time somebody comes to us, they are more ready to at least understand what their options are. So they're open to the idea that there is an escape hatch, right? And so that does make our lane in this movement a little bit more bearable, maybe might be the word. Empowering, gives us a little more hope and a little more energy to do it every day. So, for us, we close roughly 5,000 cases a year. So that impacts about 11,000 Texans. Think primary and secondary victims. So the parent and then the children living in the home, or, the parents whose child was sexually assaulted on campus. So the round number is about 11,000 people. And those cases can look very different. It can be, domestic violence where somebody has been in a relationship and they've been so terribly harmed, where their person that they thought that they loved and was supposed to spend the rest of their life with left them literally thinking they were dead on the ground, leaves to go get a solution to clean the murder scene. And instead of her being murdered, she is able to sneak out and get help from a neighbor. And then law enforcement says, here is the number of a resource that can help you. And they come to us. And then we work with them through that civil legal justice system, which is very different from the criminal justice system. So for your viewers that aren't aware of the difference, and I'm sure many of them are, but the civil is a preponderance of proof, meaning it has to be more likely than not to have happened based on the evidence. Criminal, that's a different subject, right? That's like 95% and above. And that should be, because we're talking about somebody's liberty when we're talking about the defendant. And if you're going to take somebody's liberty away, I appreciate that level of proof burden. But on the more likely to have occurred than not is really important, because we've got to get them a protection while the long criminal process is occurring. So the idea that somebody can get a protective order so that they can feel immediately safe, and that person, their perpetrator, is not able to come near them until all of that other big stuff gets sorted out, is really important. And sadly, because the criminal justice system does take so long, many of the clients that we serve don't get the result that they want on that end. So they'll find that the lifetime protective order, or the protective order they received, or the divorce, or the custody, is the only justice that they ever get. So I would prefer to see both systems working quickly, swiftly, weighing all the evidence, and getting to the right conclusion faster. But in the meantime, the civil legal services are so darn important so that people can put their head on their pillow at night and feel safe.
I'm wondering about, because this is a universal thing. I mean, I think in the United States, we have a huge issue with the human trafficking piece of it, or abuse. Mm-hmm. I don't know you probably know what the latest statistic is on like the human trafficking piece, which is kind of a separate piece.
Actually,
okay.
Meghan, no.
Okay.
And you want to know why? It's impossible to measure.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
It's impossible. I mean, is it hard enough to measure domestic violence or sexual assault? Because not everybody's going to report 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 if you're a domestic violence victim, and then 1 in 4 if you're sexual assault. But these human trafficking statistics that keep coming out, we've not been able to get a true definitive handle on what those numbers are. And there have been studies that will claim it's 1 in 6 or 1 in 8 or 1 in 10. And then their studies are not a broad enough spectrum sample size, so they're not as valid. So, what I would say that has been shown, though, is that there is a perception that human trafficking is all about people, coming across a million borders to get here, and they're being trafficked and they're being harmed. And while that is true, statistically, most trafficking victims, or many, let's say many, because most is a real strong term, but many are actually domestically. They're from our own country, and they are being trafficked because somebody is exerting power, coercion, and control for their gain over the victim. And that is happening everywhere.
I would love to get your answer on this, because it is something that I think is so scary and terrifying right now. I hear stories about girls being taken. I live in Los Angeles by the airport. There was a story pretty recently of a girl that they went into a restaurant and she gave a sign and somebody saved her. So, I mean, and that's just one story. Think about, because we're by the airport too. So, which is so scary. So I tell my kids, like, please, like, whatever you do, we live in a beach town. It's not safe. Girls, like, watch out. Be aware of your surroundings. Right. Don't pick up money off your windshield. All the things that they tell you that people are trying. But I would love to know your take on, I mean, recent things going on, like P. Diddy. Like, that was a story that was all over the headlines. And right? Do you want to give your 2 cents on that, or?
Well, you know, I honestly purposefully did not immerse myself in that story because, as you said, the trauma of what we see every day in the tangible life that I can impact and affect is plenty. But what I will say is that I don't think that we did any person who's been victimized a service by putting them through this circus and by not saying that this person's story and what they're going through should not be honored while the justice system turns its slow wheels. But I think that I am going to call the whole thing a circus, really is going to make it so that other victims are afraid to come out and say, I'm being harmed. And that is disgusting, because as a society, we should be able to say, this is not acceptable behavior. It's not going to happen. And we're going to stand up for people who have been harmed. And we are going to make sure, of course, that due process occurs, but not at the destruction of the person who's already been harmed. And we should have handled that a lot different, and we should continue to handle it differently. And it's a balance though, right? Because if the circus doesn't happen, then is anybody going to talk about human trafficking or domestic violence or sexual assaults? You know, how do we get this into the mainstream vernacular and discussions about what is safe and what is healthy and what is not? If these giant events don't happen, I don't know, but it breaks my heart for her that she was so shamed and re-traumatized and victimized again in this situation.
But I think that's a common occurrence in this climate right now, is that women are not, I mean, in general, are not believed, right? We're victimized and sexualized from the time we're, you know, in puberty, basically, maybe younger, to not be believed. And right now, like you said, there's so many stories in the news, and P. Diddy's just one of them, where she, you know, I'll say Cassie got up on the stand. I did keep up with some of it, and everyone's coming after her like, you're lying. And so, like you said, it's so hard for women to feel safe that they can. But I would love to know, you said you're working with lawmakers, and this is separate, like, because I have listeners everywhere, but in the state of Texas that are open to like making changes. What are some of the things that you might see? I know it's a very crazy time in our country, but some progress that could be made or done. Are you seeing anything?
Well, I am actually, you know, this past session, in fact, we got many bills passed that further support victims. And I do think that elected officials, for the most part, are human beings with a heart and a soul. They have wives, husbands, daughters, sons, moms, dads, aunts, uncles. And we just really need to humanize the experience, the lived experience that these victims go through. And I think that when we're able to bring that story to the conversation and have true discussions about what are the primary and secondary consequences of some of the laws as they are written, then people are open for these discussions. Right now, there's a human trafficking bill here in Texas that, you know, passed both sides, and the governor vetoed it. And now he is working again to have that conversation to make the language clearer and stronger, because he does want to support the trafficking victims, and all of the lawmakers, both on the right and left side, do too. We just got to get the language right. And sometimes we do our darndest and we think we get the language right. And then, you know, a couple of things will occur and we say, oh, well, that left this opening over here, or that closed this opportunity over there. So then we go back to the lawmakers and say, this is the experience that people are having. And can we clean it up a little bit? Can we change the language, just tweak it here and tweak it there? And then we try to get it right the next time around. It's hard to get it right the very first time around. But I'll say again, my experience here in Texas for this particular topic, and I can only speak to this topic, everybody that I've spoken to really does want to try to serve the victims. We just got to really keep working together to get it right, because lives are in danger. Yeah. Their safety is in danger. It matters, and we've got to come together as a society, and we're trying.
And save our girls, save our citizens,
save our boys.
Save our boys. Thank you. What are some action items for my listeners out there that, like, say in their own state, they're not listening, or, I mean, I'm not going to talk about other countries, but this is happening everywhere. Some action items, or if you are a listener in Texas, thanks for listening. Some ways that people can get involved.
Well, you can get involved in a myriad of ways, right? It could be your local shelter. It could be here at Texas Advocacy Project. We've got volunteer opportunities. Of course, there's always funding help that people need. If, our time is our most valuable treasure, but our funds make it so that the people that do the work, boots on the ground, can get it done every single day. So, had to throw that in there. It'd be crazy not to, as the CEO of a nonprofit, because all of this work that we do is for free. But there are a lot of ways that you can get involved. But I would say at the very root of it is, let's start working on societal norms together. Right? When you're in a room and somebody makes an off-color joke or a horrible joke, and that they're talking about harming somebody. What was it? I was watching, Friends last night. And I love Friends. I really do. And, no shade. And I do think it somewhat held up well, but there are moments that it didn't. And was it Joey or somebody said, well, that's like getting kicked in the stomach, being a prostitute, getting kicked in the stomach by a old man with sores on his face or something weird. It was the weirdest thing. And I turned to my husband and I'm like, did he just say that it's about like being a prostitute, which likely means you're being trafficked and getting kicked in the stomach, and that's okay? Like, what's happening here? It was the strangest experience. But if he had said that to me at this time in this stage in my life, sweet Joey had said that to me, I'd have been like, Joey, that is absolutely unacceptable. First of all, do you know what happens when people are being prostituted? Right? That's trafficked. P.S. Most of the time, adult sex work, if you choose it, is yours. But if you are being forced and coerced to do it, that is trafficking. I'd have had that conversation with him. We've got to start with talking about this stuff. Meghan, I've said this on other podcasts and in other interviews, but I'm 56, almost 7 years old. I grew up on the John Hughes movies. So
I love the John Hughes movie. We just watched.
Oh my God!
We just watched Say Anything the other night. I love that movie.
Oh, so good, right? With John Cusack.
Yeah.
I don't want to import anything. I don't want to export whatever.
It's a good movie, everyone. Yeah.
So good. And those movies were great. And absolutely, I laughed like crazy when I was younger. But now, if I were watching a movie that was about getting the popular girl drunk, cutting her hair while she was wasted and had no ability to consent so that they could have sex
Candles.
with her.
Yeah.
16 Candles. Great. Josh was a doll.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely not. And if our people are consuming this at all times, how do we expect different behaviors in reality?
Well, I mean, not to bring up stuff, but it's the way that people are talking in general. Inappropriate things are being said, and we need to teach as a society, stray away from where we're kind of going and go back to like how you talk to a young girl, things are inappropriate right now. And I'll just leave it at that and use your imagination with what I'm trying to say. That all makes sense. Okay. So in closing, what is like the main reason that you wanted to come on and talk to me today besides my great intros? Is there something you want?
I was going to say, because you're judging Meghan.
Thank you.
Why do you think
Thank you. Here's by the way, thank you, listener. Donna, for sending me this mug. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
She sent me my little. She sent me my little logo on a mug.
To send me a little sussy.
And then I have look at this if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you.
It's so perfect. I mean, like on brand.
I know.
honey.
I'm like, finally, after 5 years, someone sent me a mug. Thank you. Okay. So in closing, and I have to stop saying like
Really?
I'm working
In
up.
closing, I thought we got a whole
Is there
hour.
something?
My
No,
goodness.
we do. Is
My
there
God.
something,
No, I'm kidding.
Heather, that you specifically want to leave with my listeners today?
Well, I specifically want to leave with your listeners that if you think somebody's being harmed, and I think I said this earlier, don't judge them. Let them know that you will help them through this journey, right? You will lift them up. You will make sure that they get the resources that they need when they want them. And if you're in Texas, you're going to call 800-374-HOPE. 3 + 4 = 7. Your listeners are going to be tired of hearing me say that. 800-374-HOPE to get some help. Or call the National Domestic Violence Hotline or the Suicide Prevention Hotline or the Sexual Assault. I mean, these hotlines are out there. You can easily find them. But to make sure that you're there and supportive of people and that you empower them. Because remember, their power has been taken. This is what all these abuses are about, power and control. So that's been taken from them. You want to give that back, right? You want to give them a resource and a pathway to find themselves, to get their voice back, to be strong, and so that they can help the next person along the way. But again, I think it's about talking to young people. I agree. Did we talk about our teen ambassadors program
No,
at all?
please talk about it.
Oh, can I? Can I?
You can talk about whatever
said,
this is your time. I'm giving you whatever.
Oh my gosh.
I can go back to John Hughes movies anytime, but no, seriously, anything, because I'm gonna give you a little personal story. I do, listeners, do a lot of episodes about this because I'm a survivor of a abusive stepfather, and my mom thankfully got out and is okay. But I think about how long or how many women, I know women in my own town that are afraid to leave situations because they are either financially kind of stuck and they know if they leave, they are going to have to go through all the things that we have to go through. So I talk about a lot, like having a plan, which Heather, I'm sure, like anytime you leave somebody, if you're in a situation of abuse, you always have a plan. And you don't tell your abuser the plan. I've said this multiple times, right? But I wanted to add that in. It's important
to safety plan with a professional too, because they can really help you to see kind of through the forest, through the trees on what is like the immediate most important thing. Like, make sure that you've got entry and access of your house from all places. Get a safe word for a friend. Maybe it's a bark like your dog just did. No.
You know what it is? And I don't mean to change the subject, but she's barking because they're tearing down a house across the street. And so it's like builders, and every morning, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but it's hard when you record in your house, listeners,
right?
She's
on high alert. She's protecting you.
One of them doesn't care. She's like, whatever, peace out. But my 10-year-old lab, Rosie, it really bothers her because there's construction and my whole house shakes from them. I don't even know what they're doing. So thank you for being patient today with that.
But safety planning, like you said, is very, very important. And I think, one of the smallest things that you can do is have a safe word. If there is something that is happening and you're speaking to somebody at the time, whatever that may be, maybe, I love purple flowers. Mm-hmm. As benign as that sounds, that means call the police. There's something very dangerous about to happen here, without having to say it, which could incite more violence at the time.
I mean, it's so deeply disturbing to me about the statistic about, like we talked about, the human trafficking piece, the domestic violence piece, how many people get involved in this and can't get out. And like you said, feel like,
because nobody falls in love with somebody who's going to harm them.
Yeah.
Nobody moves in with somebody that they think is going to harm them. Nobody allows somebody to get a power of coercion and control over them that they think is going to harm them. Remember, these things happen very slowly, meticulously, and methodically. And that's why it's so hard to say, oh my gosh, wait, I'm a battered woman, or I'm being trafficked. I didn't realize that this was my parents' best friend that took me and said, help me to make some money. And it makes no sense. Or, I ran away from an abusive home as a child, and this person on the street that befriended me said, oh, you can come stay with me and we'll help you get back on your feet. And then the next thing you know, you're being trafficked. It's not like somebody hands you a card and said, I am now going to abuse you. And this is going to be the form of abuse.
It's like they do all the love bombing. It's all the steps, right? It's being with the narcissistic. I would love to, at some point in my life, get to the bottom of why, like how it starts, how this little seed grows. And if the men or men and men, whoever it is in these situations, you could be with a narcissist in any situation, even a narcissistic friendship. I've talked about that before.
Absolutely.
Like how you find yourself being love bombed and all of these things. And then you're at the point where you trust and you're like, this is my person. And by then you have to basically be reprogrammed. Right.
Absolutely.
And that's awful.
It's like those, all of a sudden you're in quicksand, right? Like we were trained throughout the 80s to never get in quicksand. Well, sometimes you step in sand. Well, this is what happens. It's a rough thing. But I think, again, it goes back to these early conversations about what healthy relationships and what aren't. Again, back to the teen ambassadors conversation, we work with young people to say, this is an exercise in healthy relationship. We're going to walk you through stories and you're going to have to make decisions and there's going to be consequences in these stories. And so we're working on critical thinking and modeling good behaviors. And I think that that's so very important. We've had kiddos who have been through our program. And when they come out, actually, we had one really good story you asked me to tell you.
I love success stories. I don't want to go dark all the time.
Oh, yeah. So there's this little boy on the bus. He's been through our Teen Ambassadors program. This is why I said teach our boys too. And he's on this bus and the little girl sitting next to him happens to be his best girlfriend, not a girlfriend, but a best friend girl. And she's like, oh my gosh, such and I are like boyfriend and girlfriend now. And this, and he was texting me this and that. And she shows her friend this picture and it's an inappropriate picture from her brand new boyfriend, her little love interest, who's made her feel so special all day long in class. And this little kid that went through our program said, that's not what love looks like. I just learned all this other stuff, and that specifically was talked about. That's not what love looks like. And she was like, what? And apparently, like within the week, the little boy and girl that were all hot and heavy broke up, and she then gained a voice and understood also what was happening. And I think part of it is that young people don't have the language for what that is. I mean, navigating young waters is, love is tough.
I love hearing that because it's so true. They all, with Snapchat and like social media, don't get me started. I think they all feel like, it's such a different world from when I was a teenager wearing like jeans with a tucked-in flannel and a high belt. So I don't understand their outfits. I have a 15-year-old and I'm like, what are you wearing? But I think they're not taught that it's not okay. They're taught to be everything.
Their frontal lobe.
It's not fully formed till they're 27. Yeah.
So it's our job to support them by giving them the tools, such as the language, such as the scenarios, the ability to have open, honest conversations, to not judge or shame our kids when they're coming to us because they don't know any better. Yeah. So it really is our job to do that. And I think we're, one step at a time. And I think it's different than it was in the past, right? Where, as you said, all these social media influences and people have much greater control over where are you? What are you doing? I need to see you. Did you snap this hour? Did you, all the things. So you've got to give people the boundaries and the parameters and really explain that it's based on a pattern of behaviors, right? Like if somebody's just like, oh my God, you're the greatest and I love you and text me, please text me. I love you, blah. That's one thing. But it's like, text me because I don't know where you are. Now I'm getting a little more angry. Text me again.
Yeah.
I want to see that you're on your socials. I want da, 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 da. And let's not forget that the person that's receiving all of this input, there's dopamine release going on. So they've got to now sort through the feelings that dopamine is giving them of feeling great and feeling loved and feeling wanted and understanding that, oh my gosh, there's danger over there. So it's a constant job, and we need to always be open to it and keep talking.
It should be I know this is a large ask, but wouldn't it be great if this could be taught in school? I'm just saying, like, I think that there should be a class on social media safety, and this could be thrown into that class, because I hear stories all the time about, bullying, girls showing a picture on Snapchat because they got talked into it, and then they don't go back to school because everyone is making. I thank God all the time that I did not grow up during this time. I can't, and I have two daughters. So it's so to your point, so important how we talk to our kids and what we teach them, and all of those things are huge. Okay.
And that we value that as part of a curriculum.
Yes, thank you.
And if you can't get it in your schools, you can get it in nonprofits like Texas Advocacy Project. If you're here in the state of Texas, in the spring is our Teen Ambassadors of Hope program. And we accept everybody, and we're going to work really hard to make sure that we can be in every major market in Texas so that we can support all the kiddos everywhere and not make you come all the way to Austin.
Okay, I really would like to come to Austin. Heather,
send your kids next summer.
Maybe. You never know. It's important. Okay, so in closing, I would love to know where people or my listeners could find you.
So we're at texasadvocacyproject.org. And I know it's a tongue twister. I don't know why we landed on that as the longest name in the history of the universe, but we are at texasadvocacyproject.org. And again, that phone number is 800-374-HOPE.
Okay. And everyone that's listening, I know you're probably like, why are you specifically doing something for just Texas when I'm listening in Oregon or I'm listening in California? I see things when people send me things, and I think if this is something I want to talk about, I will always support certain things. And what you do is something I will always support and always use my platform to support, because I think it's that important. So if you are dealing with, one of the human trafficking, or you want to get involved and you're not in Texas, you can get involved. I'm sure, do your research and wherever you are. And I thank you, Heather, for coming on. I'm glad I did not butcher the beginning like I usually do, as bad as I do. And I apologize for my dogs barking. And if you heard shaking of my house, I apologize for that too. Please come back, listeners.
Time out. We're not going to be apologizing. We don't apologize for things that are out of our control that we did not do. Come on.
You are right. I am not sorry for anything I just did or said today.
You did a successful podcast. You shined a light on an important issue that transcends Texas.
Thank you very much. Okay, Heather, it was lovely meeting you. Everyone, if you're so inclined, follow me on Instagram at Judging Meghan. Leave me a review. I'm so bad about asking you to go on Apple or Spotify and leave me a review. I am almost at my 5-year anniversary of doing this podcast. There's a lot of exciting things happening. Writing my book. I don't know when that will be out, but I promise you that's a work in progress. And Heather, it was so lovely to have you on. Everyone, keep going. You matter. Your story matters.
Judging Meghan with Meghan Judge.